Imagine with me, if you will. You live in rural America. You're 50 miles from the largest town. On that particular day, the sky is blue, the air is fresh, the birds are singing, the breeze is gentle. You, along with millions of your American brothers and sisters, are enjoying your rights and freedom to own firearms. On that particular day, you're out on your property shooting targets. Suddenly and unexpectedly, part of your rifle breaks. You gasp. You cuss. You cry. Just a little. But you have a solution. You can repair it. But you just need to procure the part. The town 50 miles from you doesn't have one. But you're savvy. You have the internet. You search for the replacement part. You find it. You go to order it. But you find that you can't. In fact, you find that suddenly you cannot order anything gun-related online. Nobody can. What do? You can't do anything. And you've got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to thank for that. Welcome to Courage and the Constitution. I'm just a guy digging behind the headlines to get to the nuggets of truth. I'm tired of the rhetoric and the propaganda. I'm being lied to by the media. I just want to know what's going on in the world. So let's do this. Several videos back, I made mention that there would be a part of this BidenHarris Gun Plan in particular that would really make a lot of people really hot. Well, this is certainly one of them. End the online sales of firearms and ammunitions. Biden will enact legislation to prohibit all online sales of firearms, ammunitions, kits, and gun parts. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. All right, so we're not quite done. I'm just going to keep calm on this one. And this is a much bigger deal than it actually seems initially. I'm going to have to relax. This is my bottle opener I purchased in my times in Africa. Okay. So to address those who have actual genuine concerns raised over online purchases of this type, to those people, I really want you to know that I actually really do understand. And as much as I fight for the rights protected under the Constitution and can really become somewhat impassioned over them, I'm really not without understanding of those who are afraid. And people like that, maybe it's you, are afraid because you've been trained to be afraid. The images that you see and the stories that you hear are all just, they're frightening tales and images of mass murders involving a gun. Terrible things, awful things. And you never get to hear the other side. So you never get to enjoy time within the gun community and participate in the activities that millions of people and millions of us who are very comfortable with our firearms participate in, and the great times that we have. So for those who have never received training or a healthy and safe familiarity with firearms, they're genuinely scared of them, and they perceive them, and they're afraid of what they perceive them to be. Fear, though, just like hate and love, is an incredibly powerful emotion that drives a lot of the anti-gun activism that we do see. And I can't tell you just how many times and how many videos that I've watched, though, of anti-gun people accepting, which is very courageous for those people to really step into a place like that, but accepting the invitation of a pro-gun individual or individuals to come out with them and to shoot with them. And at the end, they find an entire new respect for guns and understand just how really out of touch with reality their fear made them. So when one is afraid, it's incredibly difficult to look past that fear and accept the rational. So when somebody takes somebody and says, hey, we're going to go over the basic gun rules. This is how a gun works. We're going to start with a small caliber. I'm going to hold it for you. I'm going to make it as safe and as fun as possible. And they take the person, put their hand on the gun, they pull the trigger, they have a great time. All of a sudden, they want to start pulling the trigger more. When you watch the videos, that's what they do. They don't shoot the gun and say, no, 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 I hate these things. They're evil. They're awful. They said, hey, can I do that again? Because it is a great time and the gun community is a great bunch of people. But that's not what people get to see. Now, that is why one person can look at a gun and love it and understand it, while another person looks at it and they see a death machine and something that needs to be destroyed. It's no different than any other kind of fear that people have. Take snakes, for example. Now, I know people who see a snake, any snake, and they immediately scream and panic, and they either run away as fast as they can or look for the nearest shovel. Now, myself, however, having spent time around snakes and handling them, I know that I need to respect them, but not fear them. Some people act as if a snake will strike someone 10 feet away. Now, I know that they only strike at maybe half the length of their body at best. I understand their behavior. I know how to capture them and handle them safely, as well as being able to identify those that are venomous from those that are not. Guns, you see, are the same way. Is someone's fear of snake legitimate? Well, of course, sure. Fear is the experience of their fear is. But when the facts and the truth about that animal are known, then they can begin to understand the irrationality of their fear, and it's no different than with guns. Now, I say all that to express my empathy. However, I will not allow someone's irrational fear to encroach on my rights. Just as is common with racism and how people are hateful or mistrusting of another race, it's often based upon fear. People do not understand. They do not know something, or they're not familiar with something. And that will naturally make them afraid of it. And that fear will guide their decisions. Now, I try to be understanding of that, and I attempt to communicate through that empathy. But there comes a point where trying to communicate, it has to stop, and action has to begin. Now, because there is so much that is riding on it, that includes my rights, your rights, the rights afforded to every American as written in the Constitution, regardless of where you stand on the issue of guns. But back to the Biden and Harris plan to encroach on more American protected rights. That whole online buying thing. First of all, can you purchase a firearm online? Yes. Yes, you can. Can they be delivered to you? Can they just come right to my front door? No. No, they cannot. Absolutely, they cannot. And I'll get more on that in a bit. Purchasing guns online, you have to understand, it offers a lot of great advantages. For one, selection. You've got styles, you've got makes, you've got calibers, you've got guns that have been customized in every which way. You've even got rare and collectible guns from World War II, World War I, or earlier that you can purchase from people online. You've got purchasing options. So you've got auction formats, for example, which can land some really great deals. You've got the convenience, as with any kind of online purchase. There's no lines, and there's a streamlined experience. Although there is something to be said in the gun world about going into a local gun shop and interacting with the people there. Often when I go into my gun shops, it is talking to the people behind the counter, talking to the other customers, sharing stories, sharing ideas. It's really not much different than people in the fishing community who get together and they swap their stories and tips and so forth. That's the way the gun community is. They are a great, great, wonderful bunch of people. And that is something that online does detract from. So yes, there's the convenience. Now back to shipping the guns. Yes, you can order a gun, and yes, it can be shipped. But what happens is you pay the person that you are buying the gun from. You then often may or may not pay the shipping, but you also pay an FFL transfer fee, because if they are not a FFL holder, which is a federal firearms license holder, take a dealer, for example, they need to take it to somebody who is, and it can be that person and only those holders who can ship a gun and receive a gun. So it would ship to my local FFL. Let's just say, one of the major stores or one of the local smaller gun shops. From there, I would go in and I would either present my concealed carry permit, which shows that I have cleared the FBI process, a pretty thorough FBI process, or I would fill out the form that they would then submit into the NICS system. That's the instant FBI background check system, to come back to say, okay, yeah, this guy, and it's instant, right? Not 10 days, not 10-day waiting period. It is instant to say, yeah, this guy is okay to purchase the firearm. Go ahead. He's good. Now, what about ammo? So, yes, ammo can be delivered, and millions of rounds are ordered and delivered every year, but they don't factor into gun crimes, the ammo that people purchase online. You have to understand, when you're purchasing ammo online, there might be something of a convenience to it, but you have to pay shipping. That stuff is heavy. And then you have the wait time. So if somebody lives in, where a lot of people benefit from online gun-related sales, is if you live somewhere in rural America where you can't get somewhere, or it's a long drive, then yes, ordering online, having it shipped, makes a lot of sense, and it saves you from a very long drive and a lot of gas. But for most people, it is quicker, easier, and cheaper just to go into the store and purchase it there. So no, it does not focus on, it does not factor into gun crimes. So you see, purchasing ammo online is nothing that is advantageous for the criminal. Now, what about parts and gun-related things? Absolutely, you can get those online as well. But remember, that is something also that Biden and Harris want to ban. Bags to store your gun in, safety equipment, everything from magazines to accessories like lights that you can mount on your gun, which actually add to safety, especially for people who use it for home protection. It gives you the opportunity, if somebody were to break in, you could shine a light, see who they are before you take any kind of action. Make sure that you're, instead of just shooting blindly in the dark. But of course, that's being detracted with their gun plan. Now, I just want you to take a moment and consider the irrationality there. You see, it's all couched in safety. So why not just stop at magazines and ammo? Why all the accessories, the lights, which, as I said, add safety to people so they can see what they're doing, gun cases, storage equipment, and the like. You see, it's not really about safety at all. In reality, when understanding what they are saying and understanding it in their context, it comes down to chipping away at the psyche of people in this country, changing the culture, changing the way people view gun ownership, and changing the ability people have to own guns, making it incredibly, incredibly difficult and or expensive to do so. It is about disenfranchising people of their protected constitutional rights. In fact, have you seen my video I did on Hempstead, New York, where they were doing a gun buyback? Not a normal gun buyback. It's a gun buyback for kids turning in water guns, Nerf guns, cap guns, any toy gun, turning them in, doing a small little buyback for kids, and people are coming out in droves. Why? Because they're teaching people that guns are evil and terrible and bad. It's a way of, one, control, and it's a way of, two, feeding and instilling fear and taking advantage of the people and exploiting those in whom you have manufactured that fear. So there are those who live far away from areas where there are local gun shops and the ability to purchase many of these things. Taking away the online ability to purchase these things would disenfranchise those people in a big, big way, as well as those who are handicapped and can't get out or really struggle to get to these other places. Gun parts, as I mentioned, upgrades and the parts, yes, absolutely, you can get those. But there are certain parts, you have to remember, certain parts, the actual gun, that cannot be received without being sent to an FFL. Those must be serialized. Now, with that said, and for example, I'm going to take this SIG P320 compact right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to handle it safely. So we're going to drop the magazine. We want to make sure we have no chance of having any rounds near the pistol in what we're doing. We're going to pull back the slide and make sure there is in fact nothing inside it. It is empty. And I checked many times. Some people will actually pull back the slide and stick their finger in to make sure it's clear, which it is. The gun is now perfectly safe. We still practice the gun for basic gun laws. We treat every gun like it's loaded. We never pointed at anybody, treating it like it's loaded. We never point the gun at anything we don't intend to destroy, and we always know what's beyond our intended target as to avoid any extra circumstance. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this pistol right here, okay? I'm going to show you. We're going to go ahead and slide this down. I'm going to release this slide lock right there. That is going to allow me to pull the slide from the gun. This is what we've got. We've got different components in this structure right here. This part is not the gun, all right? This is not the gun. Those are just components to the gun. This part right here, all of this polymer part of the gun, this is also not the gun. This particular kind of gun is modular, meaning there is this bit of metallic component in here. This is all of the trigger assembly. The trigger assembly right here is what is serialized. That part is the gun. So if I wanted to purchase something like this online, I can actually take this part out and slip it into another model like the P320 into the full size or even a much smaller model than this. And this part can just keep going into different models. So all I would need to order are the other parts. I can order those online. These can be shipped to me. I would pull this part out. This part right here is the part that passes with the serial number, is what makes the gun. That's what passes through the NICS background system. Now, it just happens to come attached to all the rest of the components that make up the gun. So, can I order these other parts? Yes, I can. Can I order this part and have it shipped to me? Let's say it broke? No. That would actually have to be ordered and sent to an FFL. Now, if I do happen to have the entire gun, you know, where it has the serialized part as well as the part that are not serialized, but it's put together, let's say even an AR, for example, that would have to be sent from an FFL to an FFL. That creates an incredible barrier of safety, and it really takes away from the idea of the loopholes that the Democrat side, the gun control side, mostly Democrats, not all, but mostly, continue to espouse. So, with that being said, these kinds of rules and laws are being driven out of fear. Most crime is not committed with a legally procured weapon. You have to understand that. Those are committed through guns, as I've said many times, purchased on the black market or usually stolen. Now, if Biden can go ahead and shut down all electronic commerce of anything gun-related, that's consider manufacturing, consider people who work in warehouses, who package, who ship, who receive, all of these kinds of things. And that would include storage bags, scopes that go on a rifle, for example. That is going to affect hundreds of thousands of jobs in this country, of people that are going to lose them. So, can the government take away our gun rights without actually taking away the Second Amendment? Absolutely. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. If they can strip everything else related to it, the Second Amendment still stands, but there's nothing else that you can't purchase guns. Gun manufacturers are sued out of business. The idea of the culture has changed. Red flag laws, anybody can turn anybody in and things can be confiscated. There are tons of ways in which they are trying to go about disarming America without actually taking away the Second Amendment, although that is not off the table either. So, what do you think? Have you ever purchased anything online? Do you agree with the restrictions that Biden and Harris are trying to put on it, as well as completely doing away with the online ability to purchase firearms and firearms accessories? All accessories, mind you. Do you think it's going to disenfranchise a lot of people? Let me know in the comments below. And if you find this information of value and you believe that others would benefit from it, then I'm going to ask you to please like, subscribe, and share. It does a lot to help me grow the channel, and it'll do even more to help us all out.